What's up guys, it's ALLDAYANTHONY. Welcome back to the Civic vlog that you hopefully know and hopefully love. And in today's video, I'm going to be showing you one thing that every 90s Honda owner needs to do. Let's get started. Alright guys, so that was a bit of a broad statement. Not every 90s Honda owner needs to do this, but chances are if you're watching this, you know exactly what this problem is. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about this right here. This piece of trim that sits right above the door where the door meets the window is absolutely horrible. It's become brittle, it's missing a ton of paint, and just doesn't look right. Now unfortunately, this is a big problem with 90s Hondas. Typically this trim right here is one of the first things to go on the car. These will typically survive, even these around here will survive, but it's these right here that usually take a crap and look pretty horrible with time. And that happens because of sun exposure, UV damage, heat, and of course all of the elements. This at one time used to be rubberized, but now it is, well, extremely brittle and falling off. So today I'm going to show you how I personally fix this to make this look a heck of a lot better and something that you can do as well on the cheap. So jumping straight into this, here's a look at the things you're going to need for this quick project. Now it's not going to make that trim piece look brand new necessarily, but it's going to make it look a heck of a lot better than what it currently is. And you can also make it look a lot better depending on how much work you put into this. So getting started, the first thing you're going to need is some black vinyl. This is a satin black car vinyl that I picked up from my friend Steve at his shop. He just had some scraps lying around. It's Avery Dennison vinyl. You could also use 3M, and you can get like matte, satin, gloss, whatever you want to do. Just go for it, pick up some vinyl, and you're going to need enough to stretch the length of that piece of trim. It doesn't have to be a fat sheet, it just needs to be a longer sheet. If you catch my drift there. Next thing you're going to need, some isopropyl alcohol to prep the surface. You're going to need a heat gun. You're going to need a very sharp razor blade. I have a little vinyl wrap cutting razor blade right here. And then you're going to need a microfiber towel. And then lastly, depending on how bad your trim is, you may need some sandpaper. If you want to go for a perfect job, you can sand off a lot of that remaining paint or remaining trim paint on there and then go from scratch. You can get it down to bare metal if you want to do that, or just flatten it out towards a better mating surface for the wrap. Alright, so one of the first things you want to do is make sure your windows are rolled all the way down. This is going to make this job a heck of a lot easier, and once they're down, we have this piece of trim to work with here. So the first step is going to be prepping this. We're going to take our microfiber towel, a little bit of the alcohol, go through here, remove any wax, grease, residue, dirt, yada yada yada. Then after that, we are going to grab our wrap. We are going to measure the length of this, measure about yay worth of width, and then we're going to heat up that piece just a little bit and start applying it to this trim. Once it's on there, we are going to reheat it to help it contour to this piece of trim and then cut it in and then call it a day. Now, the one thing I want to point out is that my trim is in pretty good shape. Not great shape, but it's okay. Most of the paint is still kind of on there, but a lot of the Civics I see in the junkyard are missing most of the paint, meaning that it might have a little bit here, but then it's mostly metal, you know, you get what I'm trying to say. However, if you don't have failure of your trim paint, maybe your trim is perfect, I would still do this. On my red Honda Civic, my trim was in really good shape, honestly, and I still wrapped it to keep it protected for the years to come. This stuff just gets extremely brittle with time, so if you have good trim, I would lock it in anyways just so it doesn't get any worse. So that's just me personally. Now the other thing I want to say is that if your trim is really bad, or let's just say somebody tried to respray it and they did a bad job or whatever it may be, then I would recommend sanding this piece down. If you want to sand it down, I'd recommend doing it off the car, not on the car. And so to be able to do that, you need to pop off this piece right here, and then I think the mirror, maybe not the mirror, and then slide it back and then pop it off. From there you can sand it or do whatever you want with it, and you can actually wrap it off the car, then put it back on if you want. I just find it's easier to do it on the car, and I'm a little bit lazy. So I'm not going to do any prepping. I'm just going to send it today. No sanding, no nothing. Just prep the surface, lay it on, cut it, and call it good. So let's get started.
guys,
guys, so at this point I warmed up the vinyl, pulled it off, and I was able to lay it on the trim and put it exactly where I wanted it. Warm vinyl is pretty easy to manipulate, especially on smaller surfaces like this. So after I laid it on, I reheated it just to kind of get it to contour to some of the edges. Now from here, you're gonna need a tool. Well, maybe not a tool necessarily, but if you have a wrap tool or a squeegee, perfect. If you don't, you could also use a credit card. Just whatever you got in your pocket, you should be able to do this with. So what I'm gonna do from here is I'm going to reheat it, and I'm going to start working this into the contours of the trim just to kind of get it to all seat properly and really work it in. So if you can wrap it over the top of the trim piece, meaning right here, and then kind of tuck it down, that's the most ideal thing. Just try to do the best you can. Try to buy plenty of vinyl, so if you mess up, you can just redo it and retry it. I did this on my red Civic in probably 30 minutes or so, being my first time ever. This might take me 10 minutes to do, so it's not bad at all, it's not hard. So anyways, let's keep going. All right, so here's a back side of the door on the trim that you'll see from sitting in the car. So taking your squeegee, whatever you got, you're gonna start tucking the vinyl in on the back side here. And just go through, tuck it all in. Now, if your car is filthy or really dirty, you may need to prep before this entire project. So what you can do is you can take this, wrap a towel around it, and then run it through the back side of this trim right here, and that'll clean off any dirt, allowing the vinyl to stick easier. And so mine's going pretty good though. I'm just kind of guiding it along with this tool. And then once I work it all the way in, roll the window up, we should be good to go. All right, so giving you a quick side-by-side shot. Here is the passenger side that I still have yet to do. You can see it's flaky, it's gross looking. And then coming over to the driver's side, it looks so much better. And so take a look at that. Nice and smooth, my hands aren't catching on it. Yeah, it's got some imperfections underneath, but I'm pretty happy with it. The reflection is being caused by the satin finish. If I would have gone with matte, you wouldn't have that. So my recommendation would probably be to get matte vinyl if you can. But all in all, for $20, $30 worth of stuff, it's just night and day difference. And so I think brand new, these things cost an arm and a leg if you try to order some from Honda, if they're even still available. And it looks a lot better than plasti dip. I think it looks a lot better than spray painting. I think that just vinyl is the way to go. So whether you have to prep the surface or whether you just send it like I did and just throw it on there and see how it looks, I don't think you can go wrong. So hopefully you guys learned something new. I'm gonna knock out the passenger side off camera so I don't bore you guys to death, but definitely something you should do regardless of whether or not your trim has failed. So if your trim is still in good shape, I would still do this anyways on a 90s Honda because that's gonna fail eventually, and this is gonna keep it protected and locked in. So just something to think about. So hopefully this video was helpful, something small you can do to make your car look clean for cheap. So as always, if you guys like this video, make sure to give me a big thumbs up. Subscribe down below for more Civic content. I'll catch you guys in the next one. It's ALLDAYANTHONY. Peace.